Time for Ask the Mayor on KWBE with Beatrice Mayor Stan Wirth. If you have a question about city business, 402-228-5923. Good morning, Mayor.
Morning.
We just had Gina Heckey on, of course, talking about the Big Give Gage event. And today you can start to make a pledge. The actual event is a week from today, but I understand you have a proclamation coming
a proclamation
up
on Monday that we're going to certainly again recognize the Big Give and the importance of the Big Give and the importance of it to all of the foundations and groups within our community, within our area, within Gage County that do great things every day to help and improve our communities.
It's been pretty amazing since it started, the amount of money they've been able to raise. Started in 2019. Hard to believe it's going on year 4 here, I think. So.
I can still remember, I think it was last year when Don Vitrosky was giving the final results at an event at the Beatrice School Administration Building, said he was going to jump for joy, and I really wanted to see him jump. I haven't seen Don jump for a long time.
A lot of us are getting to that stage we can't jump, or our vertical leap has declined over the years or whatever. So.
Gone by the wayside, hasn't it?
Anyway, it is a great event, and of course today it opens up for pledges being made online, but the actual donation campaign is a week from today, starts right after midnight on Thursday, goes throughout the day, and great event. You know, nonprofits and organizations like this, sometimes they do things too that government then doesn't have to do.
That's exactly right. And so it's great to have those individuals, those volunteers that work hard every day to, like I said, improve our communities.
Okay. The day after, your council meeting comes up on Tuesday next week because of the Labor Day holiday. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But also the day after Labor Day, started a process, I want to say, 2 years ago?
2 years ago.
Asphalt rejuvenation is what it's called. We're more familiar with armor coat work when that's involved on maintenance of asphalt streets that are in good condition. But the rejuvenation work, to this point, how has that worked? Have you had a chance to kind of evaluate it?
You know, I think there's kind of mixed reviews with it. Our city engineer feels that it is certainly worthwhile for the money that we spend for it. And it has a tendency to, again, make the street areas a little more usable for a longer period of time without having to tear into them, do a mill and overlay or anything like that. It seals the cracks. That's what's really important this time of the year, especially because of coming into the freeze-thaw season. If anything that we can do to help prolong the street life, I think is going to be real beneficial and save the city some money. Those areas that are going to start right after the Labor Day holiday is Market Street 2nd to 6th, 7th Market to Court, 4th Market to Ella, and Herbert Street 2nd to Hoyt.
So get some pretty good traffic on those, so you'll have to avoid parking on those areas.
That is correct.
For those couple of days.
What's nice about it is you put the rejuvenation materials down, and it doesn't take very long before traffic can go ahead and start using it again.
Is that the same company that did the ones prior?
It is.
It is, okay. So they're familiar with
They are.
process and everything, what's going on. That starts on Tuesday. I think the no parking is probably 7 in the morning till 6 in the evening, if I remember right.
I think that is correct. So one day should have everything all completed.
Okay. Also, there's been asphalt repairs that city street crews have been doing periodically throughout town. I know they've been kind of scattered about. Notice they were doing some work out here on West Court Street, right near the highway. Kind of fixing a curb area there?
A curb area that has been compromised just a little bit. And you've seen work like that around town. I think downtown area they did some between Court Street and 7th Street. They did a small stretch there. I think they're out in the Belvedere area also, another crew out there doing a little work. So, it's just a process that, again, anytime there's a area where it's compromised and we really don't want to spend a whole lot of money to fix it, city crews are going to go out there and do what they need to do to repair it and prolong the life.
the south third one in the Belvedere area, that's a little bit longer project. I think it's taken a little bit longer time, but that should be open pretty soon. As
I would agree.
Okay. Swimming season's over at the water park, but you want to go down to the splash pad, still have some time, huh?
Still have some time. I think it's going to close on September 18th. But it's getting to be that time of the year when our evenings are cooler, and as the winds pick up just a little bit, it's just not as conducive to be out in the splash pad, even though young kids just seem to be impervious to any kind of cold weather or cold water or anything else. They just like to have fun, and it's fun to watch.
Still have some warm days left. I know it got up to 94 yesterday, so that would have been a good day.
It would have been a perfect day.
Yeah, they can take it down to 80, 85 or so.
Yeah.
But that's been a nice addition, that entire park. And also you have designs on putting in a new playground there eventually.
Absolutely. We're applying for some different grants for some of the playground equipment. That park has been there a long, long time, and that equipment has been there a long, long time, and it just needs to be improved. A little more ADA accessible is what's important today, and that's what we're hoping that we can not only apply for the grants but receive the grants so that we can improve that.
As part of that pad there, you had a new restroom facility put in too, so it really has taken shape over the last
It really
couple
has,
of years.
and it's a nice improvement and gets a lot of use.
Okay. We'll be back and talk about the budget. Had a budget review coming up there this past Monday night. We'll talk about that next here on Ask the Mayor. Back on Ask the Mayor today with Beatrice Mayor Stan Wirth. Monday night you held a budget review going into the second year of the biennium for the city budget and Board of Public Works. Fairly quick review, kind of went over things in short order, but anything stand out for you that's a little bit different going in this year?
Well, I think one thing to note is that the city's tax rate will decline just a little over 6.5% for the coming budget year, and it's due largely to property tax or property valuations that have increased over 7.5%. So I think that's really good news. Our cash reserves increased during the COVID period. Simply because some of our planned projects that we wanted to do, we couldn't get done. And so money that was budgeted for that carried over, and some projects that we're going to tackle next year will consume some of those reserves. I think 11th Street is one of them, from Lincoln Street all the way to Monroe Street. There's going to be a mill and overlay project, and there's a couple of other larger projects that are going to be completed during the course of next year. So we'll utilize those cash reserves. You know, we received CARES Act money and ARPA money from the federal government, and some of that money has been spent today. Some of it's been earmarked for some of the projects that we're working on. And I think in all, the board or the department heads ran their operations very efficiently and effectively, and maintained their budgets, I thought, really well, in spite of all of the other things that are going on around them.
You have no rate increases in either electric or water services coming year. I think you have a small consumption increase on the sewer rate side.
On the sewer rate side, it's going to be about 68 cents a month increase for consumers. That's on average. And for the commercial side, it's going to be about a $5 increase.
I didn't quite make it to the early part of the meeting when you were sitting as BOSWA aboard, but there's a $2 increase, on the landfill or on the landfill?
$2 increase per ton for the landfill and for the construction and demolition site landfill also.
Is that basically just kind of a cash flow thing, trying to build up some type of...
It is. And as you know, everything is more expensive. We run quite a bit of equipment out there. Oil and gas has increased. Repair costs have increased dramatically. That has to be passed on just so that we can be a viable entity and continue to cash flow the operation.
Did I hear that right, that maybe the date of the construction on the new landfill has been pushed back?
A little bit.
Okay.
I think the construction and engineering final is going to be like 25, 26.
Okay.
The engineering services are going to be completed in fiscal year 23 and 24, and then construction starting 25, 26.
Is that a product mainly of the current site lasting longer than you thought, or
Yes.
it's just that there's much work you have to get done?
You know, it wasn't that long ago we completed an additional cell at, again, quite a bit of a cost, but it actually prolonged the landfill. I think at that time the estimate was going to be that it would prolong it 7 years. And so the more we can prolong that, the more we can kick the can down the road as far as the construction.
Have a couple pieces of equipment too. I think for the landfill, you're going to do a lease on one and then a purchase on a second one.
That would
At
be
least that's the
would be
plan.
for Mars.
For Mars. That's
Yeah,
right.
that's a rear end loader. I think we'll lease one of those and then try to purchase one of those in the coming fiscal year, depending upon availability.
That you mentioned that's affecting the electric department too in
It
terms
is.
of wanting to get. It's amazing how much, and those vehicles are important too. But it's amazing how much the cost has gone up on them, and then you add to that the fact that it takes quite a while to get them. It must be kind of a. I don't want to call it a planning nightmare, but you kind of got to know what you're doing. You have to get your order in, and
there's so many unknowns because you can order it today, and I think one of the vendors indicated it was going to be a couple of years down the road before you're going to receive it. And the caveat is that that price, even though you ordered it at this price, there is a caveat in there that says that price could increase between now and the delivery time. So those are the unknowns that you really can't plan for. And unfortunately, purchasing power, whether it's individuals or whether it's the city government, is out the window. You don't have that anymore. It's supply and demand, and the more demand there is, the higher the price is going to be, and you just pay for it.
if you order a truck and then you find out it's gone up a lot more, do you have the ability to back out of that and just say, no, we don't want the vehicle?
You can, and I think that is an element that we will probably look at and try to weigh the odd, or try to weigh the positives and negatives of repairing what we have and how much money you're going to sink into something to keep it viable.
On the Mars service, the garbage service, that was on rear loaders on the lease and the purchase, but on the automated trucks that do the day-to-day going down the street and pick up the garbage cans and everything, have those been working out pretty well? I mean, they're out there every day, so there's some wear and tear there too.
A lot of moving parts, and we will budget going forward. Not in my term, obviously, but going forward, we'll budget additional dollars for replacing those trucks as needed.
Okay. You mentioned some of the larger products that are taking place. We talked about the equipment for the electric department and also the Mars service, but new paving on 13th Street, Beaver to Oak, that's a big project coming up.
About $575,000. I think that's kind of the engineer's estimate today.
Yeah.
And that will take place in the spring of next year.
I see. Another one, and not really related, it's near the new school site, but the new water main project on 33rd Street, which is going to connect, Lincoln Street and the highway.
Highway 136, correct.
That one, how will that improve service? It just kind of provide you another loop or kind of a connection?
It's going to provide another loop. It isn't necessarily because of the school, but certainly if there's further expansion, that's going to be an element that's going to be come into play very nicely to have that loop.
Other thing that I noticed from the electric department, I think some substation improvements come to a little bit more than $700,000.
Right.
It kind of gets back to that thing about making sure you keep a good reserve in that electric department. And lots of times you might get criticism as to why do you hold so much money back. Those are pretty big ticket items. So
well, they are big ticket items, and you know it's important that we have those reserves just in case there is the what ifs that occur. Whether a substation goes down, those repairs, that equipment is extremely expensive. Just like you had indicated, this one substation repair is going to be about $745,000. Not that it was unknown to us. This is necessary repairs that have to be done to keep the lights on, literally. And those are going to continue. We want to make sure that we've got adequate reserves. We have about $4 million today. We would like to bump that up to about $5.5 million, but at this point in time, that's not possible, simply because of the expenses that we're incurring. But I think it's necessary to have those dollars there just in case you have an issue, because when the lights go off, you've got a population that's not very happy.
If you need a real-life example of what a reserve could do, look at Jackson, Mississippi now with the water problems they're having.
Exactly.
And the flooding there, and they're facing a crisis that, if you don't have the backing and some money available and you don't have the ability to institute, say, like a sales tax or some type of use tax, you can be in a world of hurt in a short amount of time.
Very short amount of time. And in that particular instance, those repairs are not going to be in the millions, but they're going to be in the billions.
Yeah.
It's a big deal. And we certainly don't want to see situations where we have water lines where people are lining up just to get drinking water. So we're trying to be as efficient as possible, look down the future, look down the road for future issues and problems and address them now, pay for them now, and hopefully we avoid any kind of situation like that.
And in the water system in the town, that's where the state water loan comes in, too. You're going to be accomplishing some big projects there through an interest-free loan. So
big projects, needed improvements, and it's just another element that we have available to us to continue to improve our services to the city.
I probably asked you before, but I can't remember what the timetable was on it. But those water mains in the downtown, is that a next spring or summer project, or is it
more than likely next spring?
Okay.
Now they are doing the redundant loop out in the well field that the city purchased yet this fall. I think Judd Brothers is going to start on that this fall. That's their intent anyway. And then next spring, bore under the street all the way from, I think it is 4th Street to 16th Street to not necessarily replace the water lines, but put in new water lines next to or adjacent to the old water lines.
Kind of minimize the trenching and the disruption that might
They're
occur
going
otherwise.
to bore it under the street. Now, you're still going to have some areas where you're going to tear the street up, but it's going to be small areas.
Okay. It's work that's got to be done, but when it's done, at least you can breathe a sigh of relief. You might not have the problems you would if you still had 100-year-old mains in there and things
Sure,
like that.
you could encounter all kinds of issues, and we're trying to plan ahead and avoid those. And again, it's a tribute to our department heads and their vision of what needs to be done and when it needs to be done.
Back to wrap up Ask the Mayor this morning with Mayor Stan Wirth in just a moment. About 8 minutes left on Ask the Mayor today with Beatrice Mayor Stan Wirth. We've talked about it in the past, and maybe just a quick update on when the study comes back to the council or the discussion on the Lincoln Corridor project.
We received a draft study last week, and city administration has reviewed it. It's now in the hands of our engineering department, and we're hoping that we get something finalized within the week to take a look at, and then take that to the public at some point in time when everything is completed. We'll have, again, a series of meetings where we invite the public, those that specifically live along Lincoln Street and any others that travel Lincoln Street to come in and take a look at what the completed study looks like.
What would be some of the improvements you might be looking at? I know there's cost issues and how much you can do at one time or maybe phase in, but as a for instance, what would be some of the things you'd be looking at?
Maybe a turn lane along Lincoln Street. I don't know that widening the street is going to be an option. You have property owners along the street that would have a little bit of pushback on that. Could be a bike trail on one side, in other words, a widened sidewalk. New sidewalks all the way along the corridor from Lincoln Street all the way to 22nd Street. And I'm sorry, from 6th Street all the way to 22nd Street. And I think those improvements would be really nice. I think you would see 6th and Lincoln, maybe that intersection change just a little bit, another at 19th and Lincoln Street, where that intersection would be changed. The lights probably would come out, and maybe a four-way stop at that point. Those are just, I think, a few that I can think of right now.
Okay. Straightening of 13th a little bit there?
Straightening of 13th and Lincoln would be another one that we would take a look at, and maybe kind of get rid of that hump that's there. You still have to have it for drainage purposes, but maybe not as graduated as it is.
Okay. Got a question in, and lo and behold, it's on the next topic we got on the list. They were wondering about the so-called Barber Building, 413 Court, and it's still, work hasn't begun there, but that is eventually to be torn down.
Skyline Roofing has the contract, and they are the contractor in charge of that project. There's probably going to be a change order because of part of the David Lang buildings, which is adjacent to it, is going to need to be removed with the cost sharing between the city and Mr. Lang. So that has maybe delayed it just a little bit. A couple of weeks from now, we hope that everything, the bucket trucks and everything else are there to remove everything.
Okay. Has the amount of, this is a roofing company, but I don't know if they were contracting that to somebody else.
I think they're contracting it to somebody else.
Has that had an impact, though, with the amount of, roofing work that's been done this year, storm-related and otherwise?
It seems like these companies have several crews that are doing the roofing work. This is completely different from the roofing element. I don't think that that's going to have an effect or has had an effect. There's a contractual arrangement. There's so many days for the contract to be fulfilled, and that's, quite frankly, on the contractor.
Okay. You mentioned change orders. The one coming up at the council's meeting on Tuesday night after Labor Day has to do with the concrete reconstruction that you did on 4th Street and one block of Lincoln. Actually turned out to be a little bit better than expected, the road base on Lincoln Street.
Yeah, and the change order is going to be about $27,000, a reduction. Just because the base was better than what was anticipated. You always kind of forecast for the worst scenario, and the worst scenario would have been that we would have had to bring quite a bit of fill in, different types of fill, but Lincoln Street was in pretty decent shape, so that change order will show that there will be a reduction. We don't see those very often, but every now and then we do.
4th Street part of it, 4th Street part of it was a little bit more predictable.
That is correct.
So.
But it was Lincoln Street that had a better base.
I see. Okay. Other things on the council agenda, I think there's a special designated license or liquor permit that you have on there?
Yeah, to Stone Hollow Brewing Company, who is going to assist in a fall festival September 22nd through the 25th for Envision Landscapes. Envision Landscapes was one of the benefactors of a loan from the city to get that business off the ground. And it seems like that they are really busy right now. And so I think what they want to do is have just a little bit of a celebration, showcase their business to the community, and certainly glad that Mr. Eckhoff and family chose to stay here and utilize a building that was not being utilized for a long time. And so it'll be kind of a nice celebration.
That was the one that used the former Earl May
that is correct.
Building there, which was vacant for quite a while. So
it was.
Nice improvement there. And if somebody can get use out of that property, that was what the loan program's for.
That's exactly what it's for.
Let's see, what else do we have here? Wastewater retention pond. I know it was a project that you'd had on the drawing board for the Gage County Foundation Trail, the one that's at 6th and Perkins. We keep forgetting that.
I know.
It's kind of weird because you go from 5th Street there, and then all of a sudden it becomes Perkins. So that's
I know. And just because you've got that curve there, better known as the trailhead next to Dempster Industries.
Everybody knows where that's at.
Everybody knows where that is. We received grant funding in the amount of $20,000 to fund the development of what is a bio retention basin, and it's that trailhead is known as the Gage County Foundation Trail Depot because they gave us $50,000 for some improvements there, and there are some really nice improvements that have been completed there.
Yeah, some new benches went up there just recently.
New benches. You've got a bike station there, and it's a nice improvement. We've got the seating has been completed. The grass is growing, and
restroom facility there and everything. So
we've got it all. Don't
yeah,
we?
I tell you what, you look back just 5 or 10 years on places where there was nothing, and now it's like, wow.
Yeah, nice improvement.
Yeah,
I would agree.
A property donation on the agenda too.
Gail Berkey is donating some ground to the city. And most of that ground is in the floodplain today. It is to give you an indication of where it is, it's between Tonka Lanes and Christensen Field. Again, most of it's in the floodplain.
I see. Okay. And then I think, if I remember right, you're kind of closing in on the last of the downtown revitalization loans, and you have another one on the agenda.
Yeah, and this one is something I think that will be really visible in the community. We're putting together all the necessary documents for Mike and Shelley Schaefer to the tune of about $56,000 for improvements to the marquee at one of the theaters. The only theater that has a marquee downtown. But that'll be a nice improvement, something that people will see every day that are driving down Court Street.
All right, Mayor, we'll see you Tuesday night, if not before.
Thanks, Doug.